All right, let's talk about a huge idea. What if a government just gave everyone a regular, guaranteed income? It's one of the biggest economic questions out there right now. And in Japan, this wasn't just a theory. It was put on trial in a massive intellectual showdown. We're going to break down this incredible debate over a truly radical new policy. So the core question, right? It's as simple as it is massive. Should Japan actually create a system that guarantees an income for every single person? And look, this wasn't some fuzzy what-if kind of thing. The proposal on the table was a very specific, very detailed plan. So what exactly were they arguing about? It was called a Japanese-style basic income. Now, this has two main parts, and you got to understand them. First, there's a tax credit with benefits, aimed at folks with lower incomes. And second, something they called push support. Basically, an automatic payment system so that nobody falls through the cracks. This specific two-part structure, it's absolutely crucial to the whole debate. Okay, and that brings us to the very first major clash in this whole debate. The cost. I mean, let's be real. Can a country that's already dealing with massive debt even think about affording a program this ambitious? It's the big looming question. And you had arguments coming from two totally different worlds here. In one corner, the yes side said, hey, this is all about being smarter with our money. Their whole point was, if we simplify the incredibly complicated social security system we have now, we can slash all those admin costs. We could fund this whole thing just by combining existing programs. But the no side, they saw a complete recipe for financial ruin. They were pointing at massive new spending, making Japan's national debt even worse, and the very real chance of huge tax hikes that would end up hurting the exact people this is supposed to help. And the negative side, well, they had a killer number in their back pocket, 100 trillion yen. That was their estimated annual cost. And that single massive number became this powerful weapon, a symbol of just how impossible the price tag really was. All right, so beyond the sticker shock, the debate moved to a really fundamental human question. Clash number 2, the work ethic. I mean, if you guarantee people money, will they just stop working? This is the classic argument you always hear, and believe me, both sides came ready to fight on this one. The pro-BI side said their model actually encourages people to work. See, because it's a tax credit system, you always make more money by working more. It gets rid of that horrible welfare trap, where if you take a low-paying job, you lose your benefits and actually end up with less money. But the other side said, hold on, that's ignoring basic human nature. A guaranteed check, they argued, just reduces the need to work, period. And that could be an absolute catastrophe for jobs we desperately need, like in construction or taking care of the elderly, which are already struggling to find workers. And to prove their point, the affirmative side brought up a real-world example. They pointed right to the U.S. and its Earned Income Tax Credit, the EITC. They said, look, here's a similar model, and the data shows it actually gets more people to join the workforce, not fewer. But wait, the negative side was ready with a counterpunch. They immediately brought up Finland's recent basic income experiment. And in that experiment, a reduction in how much people worked was a confirmed result. For an economy like Japan's, which relies so heavily on labor, they argued that's not just some interesting statistic. That's a serious, serious threat. And this all led to the third and final major clash of the whole debate. It's about the safety net itself. Is this proposal a modern, efficient way to help people who need it most? Or is it a clumsy one-size-fits-all idea that would actually be a huge step backward? You see, the entire argument from the yes side really kicks off with this giant glaring gap. Japan's poverty rate is over 15%, but the number of people actually getting welfare, less than 2%. To them, this was the smoking gun. It was definitive proof that the current system is broken and failing to reach almost everybody it's supposed to be helping. So what was their fix? A better, fairer safety net. That push support system would automatically send out the money, getting rid of the stigma, the shame, and all the bureaucratic hoops people have to jump through. But the negative side saw this as, well, dangerously simple. A single cash payment, they said, is no replacement for specific help, from medical bills or housing support. They were worried it would make the safety net weaker, and instead of simplifying anything, it would just add another complicated layer on top of the old one. So, after all the arguments, all the data, all the back and forth, a decision had to be made. A panel of judges weighed every single point to declare a winner. So how did this intellectual battle finally end? And the verdict? It was clear. The winner of the debate was the negative side. In the end, the arguments against this specific basic income proposal were seen as more convincing.
But why? Well, the judge's reasoning really boiled down to three key things. First, the money. That massive 100 trillion yen figure just felt more concrete and real than the other side's somewhat vague funding plan. Second, the work question. The example from the Finnish experiment made the risk of people working less feel like a real and present danger to Japan's economy. And finally, the complexity issue. The judge just wasn't sold that this would simplify things. They were convinced it would probably just become another confusing layer of bureaucracy.
So, okay, the formal debate has a winner. But the huge questions at the very heart of it, they haven't gone anywhere. For a country like Japan, which is dealing with an aging population, a shrinking workforce, and all kinds of economic challenges, the problems that sparked this idea in the first place are still very, very real. So while this specific debate might be over, you really have to wonder, hasn't the real conversation only just begun?